in the process, I think, of continuing to update, like going back to what I originally said about kind of the twin challenges, right? You want to preserve and curate and keep what's special about the characters, but at the same time, continually push them into the future, because I think if you don't, they can become sort of, nostalgic, products of yesteryear, and not what really defines and drives pop culture in the here and now. And when I think about our challenges or our opportunities, I would love for DC to be even more embraced by fans all around the world, right? Not just the North American market. And I think there's huge upside and opportunities in the global marketplace as we bring our characters to our fans everywhere. But at the same time, I think we owe it to our fans to continue to diversify, right? And make sure that our universe really reflects the diversity that we see in our readership all around the world, right? And that doesn't mean just sort of coming up with characters from this country and kind of checking the box. I think it's deeper than that. It's about finding, authentic voices from the countries themselves that and give them their break into mainstream comics, and teach them how our business works, and sort of the methodology of creating comics, and welcoming them into our creative community, right? So it's about diversifying our creative community as well. And I think, and then you have to really effectively do this. I think you need that also within your own company. I think the company itself needs to be more reflective of our aspirations. And I think, looking at DC now versus DC 10 years ago, the company is different. I think the product line, the stable of characters is different, but we still have a lot of work ahead of us. Like, how do we, I would love to create a bunch of South Korean characters, heroes and villains, not just one, but just a whole kind of sub corner of the DC universe. That would be really fun to kind of unlock and create. So I think there's a lot of great things and opportunities for us going forward. So I think that's the mindset that we all share right now.
Reggie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. In this video, we are going to take some time to talk about why it is that we have a bisexual Superman. And if you just listened to that clip, which I know that you did because you're watching this part right here, what you heard Jim Lee say is that diversification is how DC Comics is going to survive into the future. Diversification of character, diversification of staff, diversification of geography, diversification of storytelling. That is essentially how DC Comics is going to survive. What he is talking about here is that they are going to hire people that look different, that think different, that tell different types of stories. They are going to tell different types of stories in order to appeal to different types of people that are out there. If DC Comics continue to tell the same stories that they always told, they are not going to grow their market. If you have a business, there are a couple of ways to ensure the survival of that business. One of them is to extract more money from your current customer base. Another is to grow your customer base. And the third might be to do a little bit of a blend of the two, right? Continue to feed your current customers, extract value from them while simultaneously growing your customer base. One way to do that is by telling different types of stories, by introducing different types of products that resonate with different people. That way, you are actually growing your pie versus just going back to the same source of revenue that you've always gone to, right? Or going back to the same audience to extract revenue. That is not necessarily the best thing, especially if some of your customer base starts to die off or to move on to other hobbies. By appealing to different types of people in this country and outside of this country, that is going to hopefully allow DC Comics to grow the readership of their comics and to continue the momentum of generating revenue beyond the borders of North America, right? There is a large world out there and there is a lot of money out there. Why shouldn't DC be telling different types of stories? Why shouldn't they go after the readers that might be in the Philippines or in Mexico or in Russia, or pick a country? Why not go there and tell different types of stories? Even for this country, why not appeal to different types of people? The challenge here, of course, is that we, and I'm talking about the proverbial we, as collectors don't like change. But Jim talks about in another part of this interview, you can't necessarily just put characters in amber and just lock them away, because they become dated, they become stale, they become a thing of nostalgia, a thing that does not reflect the present day and the current times. And so the challenge here is that if you want DC Comics to survive, and everybody, I think, wants that, everybody wants that. If that's what you want, you have to allow some changes to happen. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to necessarily like those changes. It doesn't mean that you even have to read the stories, because potentially the stories aren't even for you, and that's okay. That is okay. I don't like all genre of comics, right, that come out from DC Comics, for example. But there are people out there that love these other genres. I like spandex, right? I don't like Westerns, for example. There are people that love Westerns. Let DC Comics produce Westerns, because there are people that like it, people that will spend their money for those Westerns, which allows DC to continue generating revenue and producing the books that I actually like. That is the beauty of this thing. They have to grow the pie. They have to grow their population. They have to appeal to a readership that is broader than the narrow slice that they might presently be getting. And I say narrow because if we're talking about just North America, that's relatively narrow. Yes, the United States is the biggest market for just about everything, but that does not mean that you should ignore those other countries. Because imagine if DC continues to produce diverse type of content that appeals to people all around the world, that Jim does what he said that he is going to do, which is to allow people in these other countries to actually tell stories. Imagine having a few 100,000 readers in these other countries in addition to the United States. Imagine what happens then. I mean, they become a much stronger company, and maybe all of these false rumors that people generate about DC Comics going out of business will fall by the wayside, because they're generating so much revenue, not just from the comics, but also from the movies and the TV shows that also get created based upon this IP. I can tell you for a fact that the bisexual Superman that we have right now is a character, is a story that is going to resonate with people out there. It might not resonate with me. It might not resonate with you. That is actually okay, because there are some people out there that this will resonate with, and that is actually a wonderful thing. That is a wonderful thing. And you've heard other people out there say, it's nice to see a character that looks like me in the comic that I'm reading. People like to see people that look like them in the stories that they happen to be reading. And it might not be your thing, but that's actually okay. It's okay, because we all still love comics. We all still want the publishers to survive. We want the hobby to continue to thrive. Diversification is the way that DC Comics believes that they're actually going to be able to do that. Embrace it. Allow it to happen. Even if you don't agree with it, just let it go by you, but just recognize that it is probably a smart business move. Because at the end of the day, if they're not generating revenue, if they're not fulfilling the requirements that the parent company has for them, then DC Comics will be in jeopardy. And no one wants that. No one wants it at all. But I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Maybe you agree, maybe you don't agree with me. That's actually okay. I look forward either way to reading your comments down in the comment section. So make sure that you leave those thoughts behind. If you need to reach out to me, feel free to do that as well at Regie Collects on Instagram. And if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button and all that good stuff. Maybe even subscribe and turn on notifications. But as always, if you need me, I am not too hard to find. Take care.